Hello and welcome to I Want to Grow. Now, I Want to Grow is all about that. It's about your growth. But with our guests, it's all about how they help others grow. And as you can see with all the mugs and all the things behind us, we are in Workinton today. And if you haven't heard about Workinton in Qatar, you need to, because they are doing some extra special things. And it's down to this one, I won't say one specific guy, it's his team as well, but it was his foresight, it was his thoughts, it was the way that he brought this all to Qatar. I want to introduce Kerem. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. I Want to Grow, and you have definitely done that for so many.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a very exciting journey. Every step, I remember telling my team, as we achieve one milestone, we were saying we are just starting. So the growth never stopped, and we were always keen to do something more. How can we make it better? And all led to where we are today. And so thank you so much for the nice introduction and having me.
Let's kind of, you've had it easy, right? Look at what you've created now. It must have been so easy for you. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's hear your story when you came to Qatar.
Absolutely. Well, it's never easy. I believe along the way, create things or create morals to find it feel it a bit easier. But no one said also it would have been easy. There were a lot of challenges, which we can, talk a little bit more about it. How it all started was back in 2018. So Workinton in Qatar officially launched in 2018 October, but the real operation kicked off by January 2019. We started with a 1,200 square meter space in Alfardan Center, which still is what we like to call our playground. It's a very open industrial but modern office spaces there. And so it all started there back in 2019 January. Today we are running about 10,000 square meters. We have developed 3-4 new products on top of our basic, let's say, our bread and butter, our very conventional business model, which, as you may know, consists of serviced offices, meeting rooms, community memberships, virtual offices, and so forth. So we added few more models on top, streamlined our operations, recruited more than 30 staff, created a lot of strategies, policies, templates, reporting schedules, and ultimately grew the square meter, grew the revenues, grew the profits. Along the way, we also like to believe we achieved to become one of the benchmark brands in Qatar, where I remember one of the very first visions when we were talking that gap between October 2018 and January 2019, when we did our very first sale, that 3 month of preparation time, we were talking about long-term vision. And one thing that was very clearly stated in those meetings were that whenever people talk about startups, innovation, communities in Qatar, we want to be on the map. That we want them to think of Workinton. And today we have a lot of validations that shows that we actually have achieved or are on the way to achieve our long-term vision. In a nutshell, I believe that would be our, let's say, growth over the last 5.5 years. Needless to say, there were a lot of challenges, a lot of outside factors that, let's say, actually helped us sometimes to diversify our products, to spin off into different business models. One of which was obviously COVID. When your main statement as a business is communities and working together and being close to one another, touching one another, getting engaged all the time. And when COVID starts and everyone is working from their home, obviously that was a big challenge. But we ended up doubling our monthly revenues from 2020 March till 2021 March. That exact first 12 months of COVID, we were able to double up our revenues by introducing a new business model, which I would be very happy to talk about, which is called Workinton Enterprise Solutions. And again, so we added more and more, tried to understand the market needs in challenging times and try to address solutions to that.
So let's talk about the people at the beginning of this, Alfardan. one of the best names and one of the best families, and their achievements is colossal. Okay, let's talk about them. How did you go and pitch this to them in the beginning? How did you get them to buy into your thoughts?
I have to be honest, first of all, it was not me to pitch the idea and to create this management framework agreement. Works kind of like a franchise, but like I was just mentioning, the main strategies, the very high level visions, missions, all were set by us, effectively by myself and with my team. Definitely a lot of support of Alfardan Properties. When I was approached by Workinton, which is essentially a Turkish brand, now operating in few countries, but all Turkish funded, Turkish managed brand, they actually, upon Mr. Omar Alfardan's visit once in Turkey back in 2017, they saw Workinton, they saw the space, they really liked the concept. Of course, business centers and micro living style or more like shared office platforms were also common at that point. WeWork has pioneered in terms of purpose-driven, community-centric, innovation-friendly co-working spaces. Business centers are out there since 1988, but when really when it was driven by the communities and by collaborations, I believe WeWork has introduced that purpose, that concept to the world when they founded the company back in 2010. And around 2016-17 were great times of co-working spaces worldwide. There were about 30-35% year-to-year growth on the sector, so it was one of the booming subsectors of real estate, of commercial real estate. There were, again, a lot of challenges along the way, but during this booming period, when the top management were having a visit in Turkey for other businesses, they saw Workinton, they really liked the concept, they got in touch. At that time, I was not a part of Workinton, but I was a part of the ecosystem, part of the startup ecosystem, as well as co-working industry in Turkey. And I was approached by Workinton with this very amazing experience. I thought it would have been an amazing challenge as well. And when I have come here and when we kicked off things, that's when I needed to be plausible, and be reliable, needed to earn certain credibility from Alfardan management in order to implement this vision that we have set together. For a giant company like Alfardan, obviously it's a group of companies. We are a subsidiary of their properties division, and Alfardan Properties and Hospitality have a very diverse portfolio. When you are a landlord providing more than almost 1 million square meters in a country, diversifying your portfolio into smart offices, flexible office solutions, diversifying your audience was, I think, a good business strategy for them at that time, and for that reason they were in the business. And when we started to develop this vision and position the brand a very innovation friendly, we want to be at the heart of this ecosystem. We want to be a platform where the ecosystem uses it as an infrastructure. That's when they got excited even more, because they realized they're not only diversifying their real estate portfolio, rather they are stepping into the innovation field.
That's what I admire about you most of all. Were you a real estate company or were you a community builder? And that's where you virtually aligned the two. And you've just said briefly on what they saw, but that was through that was with your team, that was creating that community. Because if you create the community, the real estate is going to benefit. How did you keep that because there must have been the real estate company must have been sometimes pulling you to this direction and then
definitely
pulling you to this direction.
Definitely.
You've done, that's what I admire you, that you managed to keep them both under control, but enhance the two.
Yes. Well, it sounds too good to be true when you put it that way. And again, obviously, there are always challenges. I always believe whatever challenges there may be, there are always solutions. It's about finding those solutions, sometimes thinking outside the box, working collectively together. It's never one man's job to solve such challenges or to find solutions to those challenges. What we essentially did, so of course our cash cow, our business is real estate, and there are certain ground rules, principles that we have created as our strategy book way in the beginning, through certain like metric driven KPIs in our raising capital, in our revenue streams, in different products. So obviously the business is driven by the real estate ground rules and principles. But when we introduce ourselves to anyone really, even if it would be an investor or a real estate company, a landlord, it could be a partner, it could be a startup, we always say we are a community organization. So our brand is driven by community, our business is driven by real estate, and ultimately the real estate, what we have, is for the community. So it wasn't actually that difficult to blend the two, because the space itself, which makes us have gain the cash flow, is driven by the community. And instead of just like calling them tenants or treating them as tenants or customers, we always call them member. We wanted to create that sense of belonging. There are so many benchmarks of many love brands around the world, let's say, and we wanted to become one of those love brands. We saw there was a gap in the market that if we position it this way, it would effectively help our marketing, help our prices to be at a competitive yet premium levels, so that our business, real estate business, would gain from. That was initially it. I will try to simplify it as much as possible. So we centered the community. Imagine there is a circle in very center of everything, and that's our community. We understood what those communities are, because it's never a single component of the ecosystem. Today, we are making money. We have members, monthly recurring members, who are students, who are just coming here, benefiting from the social environment, getting engaged with certain startups or corporates around, and studying for their midterms exams, right? So we actually have students who are paying us, and we have the world's largest private bank who is paying us with a 220 people operation. So our audience is quite diverse. We have a very wide spectrum, and that's what we really tried to understand. First, we focused on that community. We broke it down as much as possible. Then came on the left side, the space design that feeds in the community. So all the designs we've come up with until today are purposefully done to be delivered to the community we have. And right next to it is our content, right? So we created all contents we have made all these times, from code camps to hackathons to pitch battles to panel discussions to yoga sessions to whatever that you may think in terms of prototyping as a startup, in terms of corporate town halls, or in terms of art and creativity. We wanted those types of contents to feed in the community as well. So community is in the center. One aspect is space design, one aspect is content, and we covered the whole structure with financial viability and sustainability. And to do that, we had to stick to those real estate rules. I'll give you an example. If I have 100 square meters that I'm paying to my landlord to lease, how many square meters I can create from that 100 square meters that I can sublease? If you convert only 30% of your total space to subleasable areas, that may not be the best business model. But if you are able to convert, say, 55 or 60, so what is that optimum level? Now, if you are converting only 30, you have 70% of your space that could be primarily a community space, a social space, which ultimately is the attraction usually. If you look at our M7 branch here, we have pool tables, we have large common areas, meeting rooms. So those areas are not converted into recurring income every month. So what is that optimum level of a balance between the subleasable area where we have our cash and the common areas where we actually enhance our brand and our community? So it was about finding those balances, finding those golden ratios, as well as the community. What are the golden ratios in the community? So today we divide our community base into 5. We have freelancers. Students are a part of those freelancers. We have investors. We have SMEs or service providers. We have corporations, and we have startups. So these 5 components, what is the ratio? If 10% of my community is composed by startups, is that enough? Or what is the ideal ratio of corporations? So we created these golden ratios, both on community side and on real estate side, and we try to stick to those strategies as much as market allowed us.
So this is perfect. Your story, it's just for me, it's perfect, right? And the one thing that you've just exemplified is your business side of things, your financial acumen, the understanding on how these works. Just like having a product that you know that works, that's going to be going out there, that's going to solve a solution. You understand how it all works. Let me talk to you about another thing when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I'll do 2 words, team and empowerment. How important has it been for you, those 2?
Team and?
Empowerment.
Empowerment. Very, very important. Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, sometimes we mention it without even realizing, or when we try to emphasize on another thing, it very organically comes out as a statement that without the right team spirit, challenges become tougher. In general, vision, mission becomes tougher to achieve. And the spirit, I mean, we always believed, and this is one of our very main messages, happiness at work is not a luxury, it is a business strategy. If you have more content team, happy team who wakes up, and without any exception, of course, there could be certain mood swings day to day, like it happens all of us. But when you have, in general, a team who wake up every morning and want to do something for your brand, if you are able to tap into their emotional sides, and through empowerment, perhaps through acknowledgement, through inclusion, and if you are able to create that type of a team spirit, you organically create a sense of belonging, and that, I believe, is very key to achieve success, because no one can get. So for me, yes, those strategies, the real estate, the community part, have now been validated apparently with our numbers. But I always say it very confidently, very comfortably in any platform I am given, that the most rewarding part of the last 5.5 years in my career was to see my team grow as a team and as individuals. I can give so many examples here.
I can think of so many examples that I look at what you've done for these people and what you've done for your team. And I don't know, with the growth that you've done, with the growth that you've put in, gone through, I don't know how you've been able to do that, how you've been able, and it's down to one thing, and that's what I see is your team. And it's like you're always there. There's a saying, right? You either can command respect or you can earn it. And I know most definitely, because you're at the front, always pushing, always driving, and setting that example. And that's how in my side, that's what I've seen you do. I want to go on to this empowering, because, okay, you've empowered your staff. But I also like about your successes when you see companies that have started out with you, but it's got bigger and they've had to go off and expand. And this is the empowerment that I've seen that you've helped with your staff and your clients, members, whichever you want to call it. But I've seen that success, your stable of companies that have been with you and then gone on to do bigger and better things.
Yeah. I think it all starts by inclusion. Same with the team, same with the members. Obviously, sometimes it is easy to say, but sometimes it is relatively harder to do or to create certain use cases. We always believed and we always said that success of Workinton are directly linked, are the success of the members. If a member starts with us and grows and achieves certain key milestones, that's our success indirectly. We always believed in that. Our content basically was driven by that. So we never highlighted us as a brand, as Workinton. We always spotlighted the members. Of course, the bigger platform you become, the bigger brand awareness you have as Workinton, people start to talk in between, and obviously after a certain time you create a digital presence in the market. People know about Workinton, and whenever people come to us and talk about us, we always spotlighted our members. Our content was mainly focusing on our members and our partners. And we kept it organic. We never did anything by force. We always tried to basically tried to reach them in a very equal way. We never, made one a little privileged than the other. Giving you an example, any member here today, we're serving to about 100 companies and in all sizes, like I said, startups, investors, corporates. And these companies, they need certain, sometimes talent, sometimes service, sometimes customers. And when they do need those, we have a community team who have KPIs to go, and their basic job is to knock on doors and, hey, how are you doing today? Is there anything I can help you with? And those people, those members, when they say, I'm looking for this type of a service or this type of a person, we never introduce them with one, we try to introduce them with all, and we let that member to choose who they want to work with, and we try to track them precisely in order to create use cases for ourselves and for our members. One of the main KPIs of our community growth is the amount of transaction between members to members, basically. How many millions of dollars are being circulating within our walls is definitely an important community KPI. And we try to enable that. We never try to own it. We try to enable that. I believe that's very important.
But that's difficult to do because there's sometimes there can be a greed factor that comes into that, right? And everybody's looking for a commission. Sometimes everybody's looking for that. So it's very difficult when you see the levels that you're doing when it comes to millions. That could have been another revenue source, but you didn't look at it that way. You looked at it way as a service. That was a service that we were going to give.
Correct. And I believe, obviously, we all have certain values. We believe not all values in life should be monetized necessarily. And we believe if you have values, if you are betting on long-term relationships over short-term gains, you then can create a certain value. If you do create a value, one way or another, success or money will follow. I believe, well, I don't know how it will sound now to come this from myself, but I believe a good leader should be able to explain these tedious and sensitive things very clearly to the team that made all of us to focus on those values and stick to them, embrace them very, let's say, consistently and persistently. So that was, let's say, our soft model of tackling into keeping the greed aside and focusing on value that we created as a team and that we believe in. I think that's important. Similarly, again, so it's all about the inclusion. The key, I believe, here is inclusion and setting strong values, I believe. And similarly to the empowerment of my team, I always even told them as well, and this is how I try to approach. When things are going great, I step back and let the team run the show. When things are a little bit tougher, and of course there are a lot of challenging times, like I mentioned, that's when I need to step up and fight with the team in the front. So that was kind of my approach to the members as well. When there's something not so okay, let's tackle it together. When there's something great, how can we help you to make it even better?
And let me tell you something now, and I'm going to tell you this. I don't give any questions out before this show. So if you think that these are all prepared questions that he can answer nicely, it just doesn't happen. I don't do that. That's not in my DNA either. I cannot prepare for these. It's the journey that I go on with them today that you're hearing. No prepared questions, no prepared answers. So those are the good things. I'm going to put you under I'm going to really, at this time, I'm going to kind of, I know it's a little unfair because you've got so many, and I know you've got so many. But name some of those companies that stand out for you that's been under your.
Surely, I'll give you from the components I mentioned just a couple of examples. We always believe to have a healthier startup ecosystem, those 5 components, along with some other support mechanisms, partners, mentors, people like yourself, are all valuable because ecosystems are essentially like a puzzle, right? Yep. You take one piece out, it's not as healthy. You take 2 pieces out, now it's no longer an ecosystem. So we always we created those golden ratios, the components of the ecosystem, and tried to, go strategically and go very equal and fair to everyone. Corporates are very big parts of this ecosystem. Without corporate innovation, without corporate startup engagement, you cannot necessarily think of an innovation or startup ecosystem itself. So I'll start with the corporates. We have companies since long time actually, like I'll just count few. UBS, the Swiss bank. We have Santander, the Spanish bank. We have Accenture. We have Snapchat. We have Deliveroo. We have Charles Russell. We have more, of course, and we've served obviously on all these times to large corporates like Caterpillar, Volkswagen Group, IBM. I am very sorry if I'm forgetting few. Of course, I'm forgetting, but these are some of the...
Let me help you with a few. Dipsy, Skip Cash, Carty, and these some of the highlights.
Those are the startups. I was coming to them.
Okay, I'm sorry, I've taken your...
C-Wallet is there.
C-Wallet, yeah.
Jolly Chick, Kioro. We've also have a lot of, let's say, startups around. Over time, I forgot in the corporates we have Sprinkler, which is an American tech giant. We've come across. We worked with Google, we worked with Microsoft, we worked with a lot of governmental bodies too. They were not necessarily our tenants, members, but we worked with them. We've done series of events, contents. We developed partnerships, signed MOUs with such companies, with Microsoft.
Digital Incubation Center.
Digital Incubation Center, obviously, Qatar Business Incubation Center, MOCT, QDB.
Okay. Those things that you've just come out with now, how proud does that make you feel? Because it's making me feel great for you.
It still gives me goosebumps. It really does make me proud, yes. and I will make what I have been making to my team as a cliche. We are just getting started.
I think you are. I really think you are, because I just keep on seeing you improve on a daily basis. And literally, I come in here on a regular basis, and it's always, and I you know what I like about you is I come in here and I still take such pleasure with talking to people. And I look at the people that I've got now relationships with, but just saying, how are you? How are you today?
And that's so nice,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
I come 5.5 years every single day to our blue-collar housekeeping staff, to some of, let's say, the blue-collar staff of our members. We not only say a good morning with a beautiful smile, but we give each other a hug. And that, even if you have a bad day, or if your day didn't start as good as it did last day, it recharges you. It gives you a nice positivity. And again, ultimately, these are not, don't take it as like naive statements. They do make an impact. They do. It's why would we want to, let's say, live with a stressful moment happened in our day and think of those for the rest of the day? Instead, if we can take a big hug from our lovely cleaner ladies, for example, and it makes a nice impact in the day.
Your word impact Okay, give me 2 impacts that give you goosebumps to this day that you've had here.
Not the easiest question. For me, I would count 2. One is related to more of the business side, to the business aspect, and the other one is more towards my team. One is the Workinton enterprise model that we've introduced. I mentioned we introduced that during COVID, late 2020, very early 2021, and that impacted our business, our numbers dramatically during a very challenging time. To be able to come up with this model, with this enterprise office solution, it's a business model that exists in the world, but it did not exist in Qatar, and till date, we are the only business having this business model. How it works is very, very simple. You see how we have our co-working spaces. We do exactly the same, not exactly the same. We do it more requirement-focused, similar spaces, large spaces for dedicated companies, for their 200 people, 300 people employees. And when you have no use case, when you're in the midst of COVID, it was not the easiest to introduce this model and to actually get it signed by one of the world's largest banks for tens of millions of dollars worth of a deal. That still till date gives me goosebumps. I have a picture that's framed in my office the moment I'm signing that that agreement. So that's one of the biggest achievements, I would say, as a team, of course. But for myself, it's a big impact. And from there, yes, it impacts the business, but it actually impacts the workflow of such large corporations too. We design the full office space for their requirements for them. We develop it, we finance the project for them, then we operate it for the next 5 years. Today we have 8 to 10 deployed full-time staff in a single, like UBS, for example. And these use cases, obviously, to create them without having a smaller version was tough, and that I believe is a good impact to us and good impact to their workflows and operations. Second is, I can count many more, but one collaboration we attempted to make by introducing one member to the other actually resulted in them getting married. That always is a great thing.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I mean, we are essentially a matchmaker of business
It's
environments,
a perfect
right?
example.
So we're not doing it with the purpose of them getting married, obviously not. But when the result is something like that, it always gives you an amazing pleasure that really the like-minded people are under one roof, and that is essentially our vision. And I have plenty of more related to my team, but I don't want to now name 1 or 2 of them because all of them are so very valuable.
I know that with you, and I know your team, so I know that relationship with each individual is very special to you. I've got another question for you, and it's what message? You're still a young man. You've still got so much to achieve. As you said, it's only just started for you, right? What would be your message to a 15-year-old self of you?
What would be my message? Just keep hustling, because it's a great question actually, because I was talking to my mother very, very recently, just a few days back, with a friend. So we were 3 of us, and I was telling them, essentially, I studied technology management. I was always very interested in innovation or creating something new. Could be out of an existing model, could be something else, but how to differentiate something and create something from scratch always gave me a pleasure. I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. When I was 5-6 years old, when I just learned how to read and write, my family had a library in the house, and they were hosting some guests on weekends, playing cards, whatsoever, and I was inviting my mother's and father's friends to upstairs to the library section of the house, and I was selling them the books of my parents. Not selling, renting and making money when I was 6. This was always a spirit I like to, because I'm not a very materialistic person, don't get it wrong. However, I believe money is a very tangible reward of your effort. So even at that time, it was a nice feeling to be able to run something and to make money for it. At the same time, I do have an artistic side in me. I like creative things. I like unique things. Usually when everyone is going to the right, I like to see what's on the left. So those were, let's say, my DNA. Reluctantly, that's how I was at that time. And it was very hard for me to know what I was gonna be ending up doing. And when I was talking to my mother, I said, like, look at it, I actually ended up in real estate. She corrected me, that's not right, she said. You created an experience-centric space and community. That's not necessarily real estate. You just utilized real estate business to help achieve your dreams. And if I knew that this would be a business model, like there is a business model that is network engineered, purposefully done for certain people to get more engaged, to live together or to work together, let's say, to spend time, quality time together, I probably would have chosen this path even from before, but at that time I didn't know such things really existed. So I was just like hustling. If I was now today myself, I would have prepared myself a little more towards these areas, creating unique projects for unique experiences. Probably that would be my...
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so who have we got to thank right now? Because the next question I'm going to ask you is, who's your inspirations?
Also lovely. My mother, every son obviously is inspired by their mother, so I will start with my mother. My basketball coach, when I was, and my team, if they hear this, they will probably be laughing because it's known within the team that I try to sometimes exemplify my basketball coach and try to learn from those experiences back in the days and kind of manage my team as a sports team, let's say. My basketball coach when I played under 16 national team in Turkey. Few others, my first boss and my good friend, who is the co-founder of another co-working space in Turkey. And yeah, I think those would be my inspirations. Yeah.
And I'm just going to say this, because I'm going to say it on behalf of us, right? I thank every single one of you, because what this guy has been doing in Qatar is absolutely amazing. Really, seriously. The things that he's been doing has really made a difference to others. So I thank you, because sometimes the inspiration, the basketball coach, the mother, yes. Okay? But this is the effect that you have had on this man that's gone on and done amazing things. So thank you all from all of us, from all of our listeners, from everybody, because what he's done here is pretty incredible. So thank you.
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
The next question is, I see what you've done. Where do you keep going? What is those next things for you? Where are you dreaming?
I can come for Workinton and for Kerem. In a nutshell, for Workinton, it's more market expansions. It's perhaps spinning off more tangibly into innovation space. Start helping, similar to how enterprise works. How can we become a service provider in office infrastructure, office solutions, as well as innovation solutions, creating innovation labs for some tech giants. We've realized that we've niched out in finance sector, as some of the brands I counted indicate that. So how can we create, let's say, fintech hubs for our large corporates? How can we engage, like you also mentioned, Dipsies, Carties, C-Wallets, Skip Cash? How can we have them engage more towards UBSs and Santanders? That would be definitely our next few steps, and we're developing those. New market expansions. We know Saudi is a potential market today. We know Dubai is a saturated but still quite an opportunistic market for us today. So those would be our next steps, hopefully, for Workinton. For Kerem, I believe co-working spaces are great, and the more diverse we have them, the more audience we can tap into. And I believe communities should always be diversified, diverse and collective. So that is why I would continue to do what we've been doing in Workinton, introducing new products to diversify. One thing, yes, but as Kerem, I would definitely like to see how can we even diversify co-working, convert it into a more regenerative, healthier, let's say, co-living concepts in places that, like I said, that promote, that encourage healthier lifestyles, sustainable lifestyles, most definitely. So yeah, probably, hopefully, one day I would find myself leading a project that co-working space is just a part of a bigger picture where people can also be accommodated, do their exercises, do their agricultures, and have it all sustainable with as little carbon footprint as possible. That would be my dream.
You have been an amazing guest.
I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you. I really do. I love what you've done here. I love what your messages are. I love everything about what you've achieved, and I wish you every success in the field.
Thank you.
I wish you every success in the world, because you deserve it, and it doesn't matter. You're going to go and do it because you empower, you share, you get the best out of people. So congratulations and thanks for being on the show today.
I really appreciate all the nice messages. Same goes to you, really, Steve. You have been an advocate of the ecosystem first, and also of our brand. And we are so happy to, have you within our community as well. Hopefully, all together, I think, we have a very promising future here in Qatar as an innovation ecosystem itself, and with everyone's effort, if we can make an impact to this very cause, I think that's amazing. So such contents, such members like yourself are always very valuable. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you.
The whole show. Thank you.
This is why we do what we do. This is why we have a podcast called I Want to Grow. Because as I said to you at the very beginning, it's not about their growth, it's about how they help others grow. And that's what this podcast is all about, let me tell you. And let me tell you the power you've got is you've got the ability to just be like any one of our guests, okay? You've got the ability to go out there and make a difference. So all I'm asking you to do, and this is the first time I've ever asked on any of the podcasts, is I want you to subscribe, I want you to like, I want you to let the people that are doing amazing things, I want to let them know that you're listening. Okay, that's all I ask you to do, is let them know that you're listening. So anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching this podcast. It really makes a difference. Thank you so much indeed.